Now, I was trying to think of a way to make Heraclitus even more memorable so you'll never forget it. And then I realized there was a song that kind of expressed what might be taken to be Heraclitus's main thrust. And let's sit back for a few minutes and listen to what David Bowie has to say. I'll turn this on YouTube and then we'll move over. Then I'll move you over to the lyrics. But I will be quiet as David Bowie performs.
Still don't know what I was waiting for, and my time was running wild in million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I've never caught a glimpse how the others must see the faker. I'm much too fast to take that test. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. It's gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their size, but never leave the stream of warm and permanent sand. So the days float through my eyes, but still the days seem the same.
Very Heraclitean.
That you spit on and stay, try to change their worlds, are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware of what they're going through. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Don't tell them to grow up out of it. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Where's the shame you've left us up to her next event? Time may change me. You can't trace time. Strange fascination, fascinating me. Our changes are taking the face I'm going through. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Pretty soon now you're gonna get older. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. I said that time may change me, but I can't trace time.
Now, I'm hoping that will get everybody to remember Heraclitus and change the doctrine of the flux. And let's see some of the quotes from Heraclitus. It would be nice if I could get them up in the right order. On those who step into the same rivers, different waters flow. And that's a quote from a fragment from Heraclitus. Here's one that comes from Plato's Theaetetus when he's talking about Heraclitus, what Heraclitus has to say. Heraclitus says somewhere that everything passes away and nothing remains. In the likening of the flow of a river, he says that you cannot step into the same river twice. Now, just want to quickly pop over to the lyrics of the David Bowie song. I think it's back here. And notice, well, the song isn't quite about Heraclitus and changing. Nonetheless, if we take a look at what he has to say, time may change me, but I can't trace time, excuse me, but never leave the stream of, excuse me, let me get rid of that, you don't need to see the ads, of warm impermanence, and so the days float through my eyes, but still the days seem the same, and the children, ... But notice he's talking about the stream changing. It sounds very much like Heraclitus. And here Professor Irwin's quote will kind of summarize. No basic constituent is in need. Fire is the basic constituent, and all changes are really modifications of fire. So fire is the everly constant changing thing, and this is Heraclitus's doctrine of the flux. Flux, meaning things are always in a state of flux, they're always in a state of change. Change is the basic component of the universe. It's not matter like the Milesians thought, it's change. Now this is a particularly complex and tough kind of doctrine, a difficult doctrine to understand, but Heraclitus adds to this something that sort of almost the flip side of it, the unity of opposites. And we'll get this through a couple of fragments suggesting, and remember, we had the opposites in Anaximander. Well, what Heraclitus is suggesting is that they aren't really two different things, but they're really one. Remember, I told you that some of Heraclitus's doctrines are going to sound contradictory. Well, here certainly is one, but let's see what he has to say, or what he's quoted as saying. This from a later commentary, one of the fragments. But the sea is the purest and the most polluted water. To fish, drinkable and bringing safety. To humans, undrinkable and destructive. Notice one thing, seawater has opposite qualities. It's the best thing, the purest, it's the purest thing for fish. They drink it. It gives them safety. In fact, there's the expression like a fish out of water, the fish out of water dies. Seawater, salt water is good for the fish, but salt water for humans, it's undrinkable and it'll kill you. People who are shipwrecked, who start drinking ocean water, end up dying from it. So notice the two opposites are in seawater. It's both the purest, the best for fish, and the most polluted. Then here's another perplexing statement from the same source, quoting Heraclitus. The road up and the road down are one and the same. What on earth does that mean? Well, if you think about it, if let's say you're taking a road up to a cabin on a mountain, well, there's a road going up and a road going down. You turn around and you come back. But his point is, they're two sides of the same thing. The road up and the road down are the same thing. Another quote attributed to him is, the same thing is both living and dead, and the waking and sleeping, and young and old. For these things transformed are those, and those transformed back again are these. That right? Living things become death. They die and decay, and from that other things become living and they die. There's going through the cycles of life. You're awake, you go to sleep, you wake up, you go to sleep. One thing transitions to the next, from young to old. The older give birth to young. Everything is in the state of flux, transforming, but they're the same thing. They're just two ends of the same thing. And another quote, making the same kind of point. God is day and night, summer and winter, war and peace, satiety and hunger, but changes the way that fire, when mingled with perfumes, is named according to the scent of each. They're all the same. They're all the same thing. They look like opposites, day and night, summer, winter, warm, peace, satiety, you're full, you're stuffed, hunger, two sides of the same coin. So Heraclitus seems to think that there's a certain unity in things that are seeming to be the opposite. But then how on earth could these opposite things be the same? What holds them together? And for that, Heraclitus has a third doctrine. It's something he calls the logos. Kind of logos is an explanation of something, an orderly, governed, law-governed process of change in the universe. That is, things just don't randomly happen, but rather the changing is orderly. Compare it with Anaximander, who equates strife with injustice. That is, the opposites are doing injustice to each other. They're in conflict with each other. Here, Heraclitus is embracing it, that this is the nature of the universe. It does it, it does it naturally. For Heraclitus, strife is justice. That is the strife of the opposites. It's ranked along with necessity, that in accordance with all which all things happen. There's a unity to the very diverse phenomena, and that the unity, and this unity is to be found not in the material cause, but in their logos, their explanation, their law-governed process. And the very identity of an object depends not on the matter that composes it, but on the regularity and predictability of the changes it undergoes. Let's go back, even though Heraclitus doesn't think of it. It's our question with the professor of Theseus. How do we have the same person the entire time? And the identity of the person depends on the changing. That is, it's the thing that governs the change, that I'm born as a little, from a cell, that I become this little kid, that I grow up to be, a young adult, and then I grow older and eventually going to go down. But there's a whole law-governed process. It's regular, it's predictable, and it governs the change. And this is really the ultimate rejection of the Milesians' answer to everything. They emphasized that it was matter that unified all things. Not so for Heraclitus. Matter cannot unify everything. So here are Heraclitus's three basic doctrines: the doctrine of the flux, the unity of opposites, and the logos. And fire being the example of something that explains the unity, but everything is changing. What is real in the world is change. What is not real is the stuff that we take to be real. And we'll spend a couple of minutes examining what the consequences are that in metaphysics, what it tells us about truth and what's in the material world.